Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So this week Game of Thrones is going back to the Martell, so I thought it'd be fun to do a video for the Dornish Master Plan. The plan itself involves a lot of book characters that the show isn't doing, so I'm going to try and explain how I think the show is going to change it just a little bit. Amongst the powers that be in the world, there are several plans to put someone new on the Iron Throne. You have Stannis trying to put himself on the throne, there's Daenerys who seems like she's kind of temporarily forgotten her quest to retake it, there's the young Griff plot that we know that the show isn't doing, and then there's House Martell and the Dornish Master Plan. We're just getting to know the Martells now, so they might even spill that into Season 6. The pacing of the Martell plan on the show seems relatively slow compared to what's going on up in the north. However long they drag all these storylines out, into Season 8, however many seasons the show ends up going, we'll still have a couple different plans to put someone new on the Iron Throne. What I think the show is doing is just combining some of the elements from different book plots. So I'm going to be jumping between book stuff and show stuff, so just general spoiler warning for everything that's happened on the show so far, and everything in the books that the show has already done. So the Dornish Master Plan isn't like some secret murder plot, it's actually a secret marriage pact that involves Aerion Martell and Viserys Targaryen. The pact itself was signed in Braavos with the Sea Lord as witness, Oberyn signed for the Martells, and Sir William Darry signed for the Targaryens. Obviously the show hasn't done Sir William Darry, so they're probably going to have to replace him with someone else in the show. The Sea Lord of Braavos served as witness to the signing of the pact. We got a brief look at that building whenever Arya first came to Braavos, when she was traveling through the canals. He's a big character in the context of the books, but someone we haven't met on the show, so he might show up in a future season. Both Braavos and Dorne will probably continue to be big things next season. So the original pact was signed a long time ago when both Viserys and Daenerys were really young. The original intention of the pact was to combine Dornish forces with Targaryen forces, Targaryen supporters, and march on the throne and take Robert Baratheon down. It was signed a long time ago. Obviously, a lot has changed since then. Robert Baratheon has already died, Joffrey came and went, now we have Tommen on the throne. So already this Martell marriage pact has gone through several different iterations. Even Viserys got himself anointed by Khal Drogo, got his face melted off. Kind of complicating things a little bit more too, the show isn't doing some of the characters that serve as backups for the plan, namely like Quentyn Martell. The closest thing we have to Quentyn in the books is Tristan, and he is betrothed to Myrcella Baratheon right now. Here's where I think the writers of the show stepped in to simplify things quite a bit by combining a couple different plots to take the Iron Throne. Varys told Tyrion about a Targaryen restoration plot. What I'm hoping the show does is combine that, whatever version of that it's doing, with the Dornish Master Plan. Just going on what we've seen on the show so far, the only thing we know is that Illyrio is a big part of that plot. He also implies there's like a consortium of really powerful people backing the plan too. I'll say with pretty good certainty that they've roped the young Griff plot into that, namely because we've already seen young Griff grayscale stuff get married to Tyrion and Jorah's story. Mostly just Jorah, not so much Tyrion. I know a lot of people were wondering whether or not Tyrion got grayscale. I think if he would have gotten grayscale, if the show would have wanted to give him that, it would have given him that Jorah moment where he opened his sleeve up and you saw it. So they've already given a lot of the Targaryen restoration, young Griff stuff to Daenerys' storyline. Logically, they would probably try to marry some of the Martell storyline to that too. The other option is that they could be doing a version of the Aerion Martell plot. The show is doing a lot of Aerion Martell's story in the books through the Sand Snakes, so what you've seen from the Sand Snakes so far, that's basically Aerion stuff. Namely the desire to start a war with King's Landing with the purpose of taking down the Lannisters and the Baratheons. Technically, it's the same group of people, but really it's like the Lannisters that the Martells hate. Sometimes it's hard to tell which new characters know that Tommen is really Jaime's son, and he really isn't a Baratheon. So sometimes it's easier when you talk about taking down the Iron Throne, you talk about taking down the Lannisters, because most people still have a pretty good idea of what's going on between Jaime and Cersei. And if you really want to take it a step further, it's really Tywin Lannister that everyone hates, especially the Martells. Most of the Dornish Master Plan, as it's spelled out in the books, was born after the death of Elia Martell. Remember, she's Oberyn and Doran's younger sister. She was killed in the sack of King's Landing by the Mountain on Tywin Lannister's orders. They knew about the Mountain's confession, and they know the connection between the Mountain and Tywin Lannister. Even though word of Tywin Lannister's death has probably spread all over the realm, Prince Doran isn't just going to forget about revenge, isn't going to forget about the death of Oberyn or his sister Elia. We've only just met Prince Doran on the show, and even though he seems kind of reluctant, I think of him as having the cunning of Varys without like the really chatty mouth. He explains that he does want revenge, but he doesn't want to start a war with King's Landing. That's where you enter Dornish Master Plan territory. Like, even though he doesn't want to start a war, he still has something burning in the background. The problem is that a lot of the people that were part of that plan have either died or the show has cut out. So it seems like what the show is doing is just combining that with the Targaryen restoration that Varys spoke of. I know everyone's also wondering where Varys went. He will show up again too. I know it's hard to trust the show to bring people back after they sail off into the night like Gendry, like never to be seen again, but I do think that Varys will be back. He's way too big a character to not come back. Based on the pacing of the show, it seems like what they're spending most of their time focusing on, with the Dorne plot, is Jaime rescuing Myrcella, or trying to rescue Myrcella. So if the show is going to marry the Martells to this Targaryen restoration, we probably won't find out about it for at least 2 or 3 more episodes. The name of episode 6 is actually the House Martell motto. It's all about the strength, the fortitude, the independence of Dorne as a nation inside the realm. So what I'm hoping is that they spell out a little bit about what's going on inside Dorne beyond them just reacting to Oberyn's death, because that's all we've seen so far. Like, they find out Oberyn's dead, they're pissed, the Sand Snakes want to start a war, Prince Doran is just biding his time. Also complicating things, Ser Barristan Selmy is kind of like Daenerys' old advisor. He's the one that tells her about things that happened a long time ago. He is gone now, so if anyone knew about any kind of Martell master plan or marriage pact, they were probably dead. I just think it's funny how notorious weddings have become on Game of Thrones. You have the red wedding, the purple wedding, then you have all the weddings this season too. It's like each new season there are even more weddings. Here's my big question for you guys. Clearly the Martells want to take down the Lannisters, want to take down King's Landing in general. Do you think that they're going to marry them to what Varys was talking about, the Targaryen restoration? Just in terms of the amount of exposition a story like this would take, there's some pretty big moves to be made, so that's why I think a lot of this will spill into season 6. They're taking all season with this Sansa, Jon Snow, Hardhome plot, so there's no way they're just going to brush over Targaryen restoration in a single season. There's just way too much stuff going on with all the characters right now. One of the big criticisms of the show has been that, it sets something up and then it kind of drops it. Like Gendry. Gendry's the best example, just kind of rolling off into the night. I think at a certain point, before the final season, it will address all those things. It's like if you watched X-Files in the 90s. Even though it seemed like it gave birth to like 1,000 different alien invasion plot lines, by the final season, it explained everything. So the show isn't going to tease any big things that it doesn't have any intentions of paying off. So if it seems like something is going nowhere, it just means like it's not going anywhere right now. They will circle back around and get everything. Just comparing the books in the show, like that's one of the reasons why George R. R. Martin originally planned a trilogy that ballooned into 7 books, just because so many different plot lines branched out and he has to address everything. He's even talking about writing an 8th book maybe now. He could just keep going forever. The show can't do that, so it's just adjusting the story so that it can hit everything by the final season, whatever that ends up being. I almost feel like it'd be worse for the show to do like everything from the books and then just have to drop plot lines because it doesn't have enough time to address them. That's really where spin-off shows come in. Don't worry, like I'm sure HBO will do everything in its power to start a spin-off show where it can address all these other things, especially stuff that predates the plot line of the show right now. So big reminder, episode 6 tonight. I'll post the video after the episode airs. Be sure to subscribe to get it. I'll also have a new round of the giveaway. It'll be an HBO Now subscription. If there are any bonus videos you guys want me to do that you don't see in my, my Game of Thrones playlist, just let me know in the comments. Hopefully by the end of the season, we'll get through most of book 5 so I can start doing more book-related stuff. While you guys wait for that next episode, you can click here for last week's episode, and you can click here to learn all about Lyanna Stark. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.